Now, the weekend soccer has been really messy, exciting, if you like, kind of crazy stuff. And last night was perhaps the most extraordinary game of all. This is the Monday Night Soccer. Spurs at home. Chelsea, Spurs leading the league. Chelsea slowly getting better under Pochettino, but struggling still, especially to score goals. The game turned out to be, well, spectacular, but not, in my view, in a good way. And we're joined now by John Giles to talk about that and also some very controversial decisions made by VAR over the weekend. John, thanks very much for joining us. You watched the Tottenham-Chelsea game. We both admire Pochettino. I think everybody does. But also very much Postecoglou, the Spurs coach, Ange, as we call him. He's Aussie. He's cool and calm. And his team reflect the composure that he shows on the touchline. But after a great start last night, a really good goal after 6 minutes, which was classic Spurs football, the whole thing fell apart, John. They got sucked in and there was no composure about the play after that, was there?
No, Eamon. I think it was very, very difficult one for the referee. I actually felt sorry for the referee because there were so many fouls, obvious fouls, that they were complaining about. And it got totally out of control from both teams. Yeah, you know, they were kicking each other. There were stupid fouls. There was penalties, and they were blaming the referee all the time on it. But most of the time, well, nearly all the time, the referee was absolutely right. Yeah, and both teams lost their heads.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs went 1-0 up, and the way they've been playing, they looked okay. But then Christian Romero, he got 2 yellow cards, and they were dumb yellow cards. And Destiny Udogie, 2 very good players, actually 2 outstanding players, new players in the Spurs team. They both got sent off. And in the case of Romero, conceded a penalty, which this kid Cole Palmer.
Yeah, from City.
Yeah,
from City,
he's a very good player, John.
Yes, he is, yeah.
And they got him, really rather cheaply, I think 35 mil. But he looks like a very good player. The point I want to ask you about is how Spurs lost the composure that this coach has been notable for. And it looked like just Romero was sent off for his second yellow card. The second tackle went through the man, through the ball, took everything out of him and conceded a penalty.
Yeah, and there was no need for it, Eamon.
No.
I mean, he could have got the ball. He just carried through to kick the player. They'd already kicked the ball away. Yep. So, like, the referee was right, but there was a lot of stupid stuff, to be honest, in the match. I mean, that was a stupid thing to do. And then he sent off. He sent off. Two players sent off in the first half. Yeah, both for his second yellows, actually. Yeah, it was just, and Chelsea were lucky as well as some of their players that they weren't sent off. I mean, because they were at it as well. Now, I know it's a derby match. It's a London derby match, and it's a big match. But there's some of the things they did you just can't do. And they're blaming the referee on it, Yeah, there was a very famous game, the Battle of Stamford Bridge. It was actually 2016 when Leicester won the title. And that match, there was a lot riding on that match for Spurs and Chelsea, obviously. And a lot of it stems from them. Now, the other problem that is a legacy of last night, John, is that Spurs lost 2 players. Van der Ven, who is outstanding, centre-half, Dutch, got all the quality, if you like, that Van Dijk has, really. Much younger, of course, quick, very good on the ball, very good defender. He pulled up with a hamstring just on the stroke of half-time, which incidentally was 12 minutes after the normal 45. Pulled up, and it was high up his hamstring, John, which are the bad ones. And then Maddison also had to walk off before half-time. So when they went in, they were down to 10 men straight away. And of course, Udogie got sent off in the second half very early. So 9 men against a Chelsea team that has had real difficulty scoring goals and have suffered a bit with injuries. But now what do you do? There's 2 ways of dealing with this. And as I say, Postecoglou has shown himself to be an outstanding coach. He was Celtic and they never lost a home match for the 2 years he was there. In fact, he'd gone 64 games as a coach of a home team without losing a game before last night. Now, there's 2 ways, John, isn't there, when this happens, when you go down to 9 men. You either, as he did, decide to play a high line and
catch Chelsea players offside, which I think is Russian roulette, or you can tighten the pitch, bring your players in, play deep, force your opponents to play out wide, and hope to win the crosses. Would you agree with me that they're the two options you've got, or is there something I'm missing?
No, I don't think you're missing anything, Eamon. I think you have to defend as much as you possibly can. But reading about this manager, Eamon,
yes,
he's very, very good at what he does, in my opinion. There's no playing defensively to him. He plays out from the back.
No.
I think it's dangerous. But I'm only trying to say this: what's in his head. You know what I mean?
He said after the match, when he was asked the very question I've asked you, he said, "That's not who we are.
Yes.
We played like who we are."
Yes.
That's. I think you've got to be more pragmatic.
Yeah, I didn't hear the comments after the match, Eamon. I didn't hear them, so I'm only guessing at what's in his head, as it were. In other words, when he's got the 11 men, I mean, he does some things at the back that I find very, very dangerous, but absolutely brilliant, because that's what he does, and he gives that confidence to the players. Now, I think when he went down to 9 men, Eamon, that feeling, the way he thinks it should be played, was still there.
Yes, and they decided to play a high line, and really it looked like it was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
There was a few offsides, and the goalkeeper did well off the line. They have a very good new goalkeeper, Italian, Vicario, and which he looks much safer and much better than his predecessor, who was the captain of the French team and won the World Cup. But sooner or later, if you're playing that for 45 minutes, John, you're going to get caught.
Well, you can, Eamon, but it's very, very difficult to do so. There'd be a miracle, a sort of a football miracle, if you can go against a top team who haven't been doing very well recently for not 45 minutes now, it's 55 minutes or whatever it is.
It was, absolutely,
So, but I think you get managers like that, Eamon, that regardless of what the situation is, they don't seem to take it into account. That if we go down to 9 men, this is a different situation altogether. Like they have this thing in their head: we're going to be brave, we're going to play, we're going to do it. And obviously, when you go down to 9 men, you have to change.
Yes.
Your tactics, if you call them tactics, which is to defend as much as you possibly can. So I'm glad I didn't hear that comment afterwards, but that's exactly as I thought he approaches the game. Because when there are 11 men, his approach, I think, is brilliant, Damien. He encourages them to get on the ball, get out from the back, and it frightens the life out of me. It has nothing to do with me. The way he does it, I wouldn't be able to do it as a manager, to play it as much as he does, but he does it well.
Yes.
So when you go down to 9 men, now he has to change his tactics, but in his head, I think, no, we'll still continue to do what we do in every match.
Yeah.
And I think they paid the price for that, because they got, as we know, they got a hiding in the end. We never fought 4-1.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, at the end, the Spurs crowd gave them a standing ovation as they walked off the pitch, which shows that this Spurs crowd have bonded with the coach, Postecoglou, and with the new players that he's brought in, unfortunately. And Maddison would be notable among them. And so would Van der Ven, who is now out for God knows. That looked like it looked like a 6-week job to me.
He was in a bad one. He pulled up, didn't he? Badly.
Yes, he did.
Just stopped.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it's very, very difficult. And you're right. I think the crowd do like this manager.
Yes.
And I think they lost the 2 goals very, very near the end, wasn't it? I know it was 2-1, but I think that...
No, they did. Yeah, they did. They lost a goal in the 94th minute and the 97th minute. And I just want to mention the player who scored a hat-trick is a lad called Nicholas Jackson. They bought him from Villarreal. He was a steal, really, 32 million by the standards that Chelsea have set for spending. They've given him an 8-year contract like all their new signings, and he's had a nightmare in front of goal. And he had a nightmare in front of goal last night before he scored. He missed one from 2 yards, but the nightmare is over.
As well, Eamon, didn't he? He did finish. I know they looked fairly easy, but somebody. I mean, it's doing the world a good for his confidence anyway. That's for a start.
It certainly will. Now, John, there's another point that arises from this game, And that is, they're just playing too many games. And they're not in Europe, but they are in the League Cup. They will be in the FA Cup. We're on the edge of madness now in terms of what we're asking players to do, aren't we?
I think we're into madness, Eamon. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. I mean, look at the lads that have qualified for the European competitions and that, Eamon.
Yeah, they're out again tonight.
We'll get more and more hamstrings. Bound to. Yep. You can't be playing 2 and 3 matches every week. You just can't.
No.
I mean, like in our day, we used to play a lot of matches within Europe and that, Eamon, but nowhere near they're playing today.
No.
You've got international matches, you've got European competitions. I think they've got 3 European competitions now.
The
League Cup, FA Cup. It's just greed, Eamon. It's just greed from the club's point of view and the association's point of view.
Yes.
You create another competition, get more money in. In the meantime, the clubs now have bigger amount of players, Eamon.
Yeah.
But it's still too much for them. It's ridiculous.
Hamstring injuries are becoming more prevalent. And I want to move on now to another game that was deeply unsatisfactory. They're in the process, John. I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want to sound like an old fart. But they are actually killing the game.
Yeah.
Let's go to the game. I know we both watched Newcastle-Arsenal on Saturday night. Huge game for Arsenal away from home. Newcastle, now they have a decent side. Newcastle won 1-0. They scored a goal just on the 64th minute. There were 3 questions asked of VAR. One was, the goal came from a cross. So the first question was, did the ball go out of play over the touchline, or over the end line, rather, before he crossed it? The answer to that on the replay, I thought, and I want to know what you thought really, and so did the listeners, I thought that was out. The second question was, did Joe Linton foul the Arsenal defender by pushing him in the back with 2 hands? It was Gabriel, I think, was the defender. And the answer to that question was, he most certainly did foul him. He did use 2 hands, and it was clear cut. The third question, and all of these are to do with one incident, was the Newcastle player offside when he put the ball in the net? They didn't have a camera angle to settle that, but they gave the goal anyway. And this clown, Gary Neville, who is becoming a bag of wind and worse, he was on again last night in the Spurs game. He's getting involved before VAR have made the decision. He's telling VAR what he thinks, and boy, does he tell them in a big way. Now, before the match last night, the Monday Night Football, they started at 6:30. He went back to the Newcastle incident and he justified all the mistakes that he made on Saturday because he was doing the Newcastle game and that VAR made. Where are we? You saw that incident, John. Was that ball over the line?
Yeah, it looked over the line to me, Eamon. Definitely.
There was a bit of a gap there.
But what they've done, I saw something fairly recently in that situation. That, like in our day, if the ball was over the line, some of the ball, it looked. What they're doing now, Eamon, they're saying with the ball, and because it's a round thing, right? Some of the ball would be over
or the shadow
line.
Of the ball, even.
And but I've seen this, and I couldn't believe it last year when I first saw it. That because the ball is round, like some of the balls, like some of the edge of the ball can still be on the line. Do you know what I mean? Now, I think the one at last week at Newcastle was over the line. But I'm only mentioning that because I've seen it before where they're saying, the ball looks like it's over the line, but and you see them taking corner kicks now. That. In our day, you had to be behind the line. Yeah. Now, some of the ball is past the line, but the other half of the ball is keeping it on the line, over the. You know what I mean? It's complicated, but I think that's how they made the decision. I still think the decision was wrong, but the only thing that I've seen in recent times that the ball can sometimes look over the line, but the edge of the ball, because it's round, is still on the line.
Right. Now, the second question is, did Joe Linton push Gabriel? There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he put two hands on Gabriel's neck, pushed him out of the way, and headed the ball down to the man who eventually put it in the net, who actually, they didn't have an angle to prove he was offside, but he looked offside. Now, this is the point. Mikel Arteta went bananas, and he has a reputation for losing the plot a bit on the touchline. But you have to say, John, a critical match for Arsenal. I mean, they're fourth in the table, and this would have pushed them to third in the table. Everything at stake. This is big time stuff. Newcastle are sixth in the table. They've got away with one here. It would have been, at the time, it was a 0-0 draw. But these injustices, John, and that's what you have to call them, they could be demoralising as well. I mean, you played at the very, very highest level in games. Every week for Leeds was a big game. It can demoralise you. Losing a match in circumstances like that, can it?
Yeah. It can, Eamon. But to be fair to whoever I could be fair to, Arteta has had a few going his way as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now he's saying this is a disgrace. And now I've seen in matches where Arsenal got as bad a decision, or as good a decision for them as happened at the weekend. So you never hear the managers, Eamon, when it goes against them or for them, they never say, well, we got away with that today.
No.
None of them. I've never heard a manager yet that when it goes their way, saying, wouldn't agree with that, we got away with that today. Yet the following week, Eamon, when it does go against him, he went mad over Arteta. And there was a lot, because I think he accused them of tackling in a certain way, Newcastle. Well, there was a tackle just after halftime or before halftime, where Havertz.
Yeah, he should have been sent off, John, I thought.
Should have been sent off. Now, it doesn't say, like the managers, I know it's a very, very difficult game, but they only moan about VAR when it goes against them. Amen.
Okay, would it help if Sky shut Gary Neville up in the interval between the foul?
I mean, you get somebody else doing it.
Yeah, because he
you never see. I don't listen.
No, I know, but maybe the guys. Don't forget, this is live television. Gary Neville is a big figure in the world of Sky, and he talks about anything you want. But the thing is, it could influence or put pressure on the VAR official who's making the decision. If he's mouthing off, as he was last night and did on Saturday, in the intervals between the disputed incident and the decision, he should keep his mouth shut. Sky should keep their mouth shut, really, shouldn't they?
Well, Sky, are they listening to Gary Neville?
It's putting pressure on John.
And the VAR people up above, they wouldn't be listening. They wouldn't hear what Gary Neville is saying. I don't think. I mean, he's doing his job. They employ him. The television people employ him, and he's giving his opinions. I'm like you. I most of the time
you never liked Gary Neville, John, and you were right. I used to defend him.
Well, he was always too mouthy for me, and still is too mouthy for me.
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's getting on my nerves now. I always to the point where I know you turn the sound down to what sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I do.
Now, John, the referee who was in charge against Newcastle in the Newcastle Arsenal game is a guy called Andrew Madley. He was in charge of VAR at Newcastle. Next day, he's refereeing Luton versus Liverpool. And as far as I could see, I didn't like the result as a Liverpool fan, but I didn't see him do anything bad or wrong. We watched that match. We talked during the match. Now, you got sent off at Kenilworth Road, and I played there many, many times for Millwall because Luton were fundamentally a second division club. And it's a very small pitch, very tight, crowd on you. And in my opinion, John, I'm giving too much opinions today, but
no, you're
it
not.
Doesn't really suit. It doesn't really suit Liverpool. Pace and that long sweeping passing that they do, the pace they've got up front, it's not ideal, is it, when you're on a tight pitch like that?
Well, not really, Eamon, but you do get used to it, on the day. It can be better playing at Wembley and that, but I'm only talking about myself now. I never found them that bad.
Right.
You know, whether it be Luton and there's one or two other places. Eamon.
Yeah.
So, I never found. Oh God, this is so small. Sheffield United. I just didn't.
Right.
And just to get back to the referees, Eamon, you'd have to say, and you're right in all the things you say, and I agree with you. But who is making the actual decision? I don't think it's the referee, Eamon.
No, it's not. It's the VAR people.
It's the VAR people up there. You know, the referees are getting the stick for it, you know?
Well, if they can't make their mind up, John, they draw the lines, say, for offside, which are pretty definitive. But if they can't make their minds up, they call the referee, as you know, and as all our listeners will know, over to the touchline to have a look, usually for penalties. Yeah. And that's a bad sign.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, no, sometimes they don't.
You know, the guys up above, you see, this is what makes it bad for VAR. We can go back to the Wolves match at United, Eamon.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Where I think everybody that ever saw a football match agreed that the goalkeeper definitely fouled the Wolves player.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Onana. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, the referee put it to VAR.
Yes.
Or the boys, well, he put it to VAR. And he was the only one that didn't see.
Yes, this was clear.
Was it clear or not? The two guys upstairs did it.
Yeah.
So it has to be given back to the referee. I mean, if it goes to VAR, like he's there on the pitch, I think he should be the one to make the decision from that, not the two guys upstairs.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I don't think VAR's work, and we disagreed on this before. I think they must scrap it. I don't think they should. I think they must, because it's bringing the game into disrepute.
I mean, I would agree with you now. I think they should give it 6 months and maybe go back to it, but at least 6 months to go through how they can improve it.
Just let me make a point about VAR, another point. There was 12 minutes overtime in the Spurs-Chelsea match last night at half-time. So the first half, instead of being 45 minutes, it was 57 minutes. That's no good for players either. At the end of games now, you're sometimes getting somewhere between 10 minutes plus. That's no good for players. That's when you do get injured.
Now, that's that. I mean, I agree with you there, but that's separate now to VAR. VAR has nothing to do with that.
No, but a lot of the time that is added on is to do with VAR. And it also is to do with players who are feigning injuries. Of course, they have responsibility, lying down, pretending they've been,
and that's a new rule this year, Eamon. It's to stop players wasting time. Believe it or not.
Yes.
So that's to be fair. That's nothing to do with VAR, and I understand what you're saying. This is nonsense as well, Eamon. Who makes these decisions? Not football people. They couldn't be football people who make these decisions. It's ridiculous. You're going 10 minutes, as you say. You're going 10 minutes. Now, sometimes it's down to VAR because it can take a few minutes on it. But apparently, they're doing that to stop people wasting time on the pitch.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, in other words, what they're saying is, fella goes down injured, Eamon, and he's kidding on.
Yeah.
Now, normally they wouldn't be putting that down as an extra time.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But there's a very simple rule for that, Eamon. If the fella is sitting right down or doing something to waste time, book him.
Yes.
And if he does it again, you book him again and he's sent off.
Yeah.
Instead of adding time, that's just the same as like what they're saying is if say a team is not good, very good, so they're wasting time, Eamon. So it goes to the 90 minutes and it's not put on. That's what they were complaining. It's not put on because they don't stop the clock on it. Now they're stopping the clock, so it's going to 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But the simple thing is, if somebody is obviously wasting time, book them, and then book them again. And that, in my opinion, would stop all the nonsense that they're doing now by putting it on to 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Just to make a general point about the table, John, City are, have taken advantage of fate that befell Spurs and Arsenal at the weekend, and indeed Liverpool, all of whom dropped points. Liverpool dropped a point, or 2 points rather, at Luton. You could look at it that way. But the good news there was that Luis Diaz came off the bench to score a last-minute equaliser for Liverpool, and we know that his mother and father were kidnapped. His mother's been released, and there is hope that his father will be released. That's some reason for optimism, but it must be a terrible ordeal that he's going through. Just an ordeal that we went through together, John, was the Fulham-Manchester United match, where we both, I think, thought that Fulham did well and the United were about as bad as they could be. And then in the first minute of overtime, who steps up? Only our hero, Bruno Fernandes, who is Manchester United's new captain, to score the winner. And then on the 90th minute, actually, that made us happy, didn't it?
Well, I tell you, it obviously made a Manchester and Ten Hag happy, Amy, because I thought on the night, I thought Fulham were the better team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got away with it. You know, it's 3 points.
It was on the day, by the way. It just looked gloomy.
They got away with it. Yeah, that was a lucky break. It's a big one, a real big one for the manager.
Absolutely, he needed it. Yep. Okay, John. As always, it's great to talk to you, and not just to talk to you for our podcast, but to talk to you during the games.
Yes.
And get your wisdom on the spot. But we do pass it on to our listeners, and we're very, very grateful to you.